I've got the thumbs up there from Jake, so we're all ready to go on episode number 2 and series 2 in a pod full of ex-Saints plus one. Good evening, Jake Ellacott, and good evening, Lee Wood.
Good evening.
Good evening, fellas. How are we?
That weren't very enthusiastic from either of them, was it? Blimey, I hope it gets better than this. Before we start, I must say congratulations to our former secretary, Steve Eames, who got married today to former City supporter, Vicky Stubbs. And one of the witnesses was another City supporter, Helen Westwood. Sorry, Helen. And God knows the other.
Congratulations, Eamesy. Well done, mate. Fantastic. It's great news.
It was a great day. Little clue where I was. Right, we're going to start off with obviously a round up the last 2 games. Jake's been at both of them. I was at one, but not allowed at the other. Did you watch either of them streaming, Lee?
No, I was confined to the highlights. I did dabble with the streaming, but it wasn't entirely fruitful. So I didn't bother for the second game.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Well, we'll start with Jake then, because he had the best seat in the house of both of them. What's your take of the last couple of games, Jake?
Not too bad, actually. Hampton surprised me. We played pretty well, actually. I thought it was a very physical game. Both sides, not the greatest footballing wise, but I thought the Saints just about edged it and deserved the points in the end. And it was all right. Saturday against Concord, which obviously neither of you have been able to enjoy yet, was another physical game with not really many chances, similar to Hampton, really. And it was really only decided because of some refereeing decisions, which surprised me. And actually, Dave, you did manage to see it, didn't you?
Well, I saw bits here and there trying to watch a stream. I'm not sure it was my computer or the streaming, but yeah, I did see most of it, and I saw the rest of it earlier on today, so I have seen all of it, yeah. Going back to Tuesday, I thought Hampton were toothless in attack. We defended really well, and that laid the basis for us to win the game. And 1 goal was always going to be enough, really. And Solomon Mbuki's first goal on home soil.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Solomon and Mbuki and also James Coloxy probably had some of their best games in the City shirt for both of them. Both of them sort of struggled at times last season, I thought, with so many of the players did. But both really impressed me. And like you said, the defence, I mean, Michael Johnson only had, 2 meaningful saves, and both of them were fairly simple. And again, as you said, Hampton actually disappointed. They were a good side last season. They finished brilliantly. I mean, they probably almost deserved a playoff place. And it looks like Gary McCann might be struggling for goals this season.
It does. 2 league games gone and they haven't scored. And you said about playoff place. Had the league table been weighted, which means they take into consideration your home record, then your away record, and work out your points per games from bunging those 2 together, then they would have actually had a playoff position last season. So that does bode well for us for the season, that one. Yesterday, again, you said a goalkeeper, Michael Johnson, he only had 2 worthwhile shots again yesterday. A penalty you can't count. He saved them both really well. So it's not a lot wrong with the defence, but we did have a problem. Poor old James Coloxy got sent off.
Yes, and he also gave the foul away, didn't he? The penalty, actually. Rewatching, I think I watched the National League highlights earlier. It was very soft. I couldn't see much in it, but we know what Alex Wall is like. He's been doing that for several years now for Hemel and Concord. He falls over very easily. But the red card you talk about, I mean, I just couldn't believe it. It looked to me like he'd got the ball and he just played it off Alex Wall. And the referee, I know we chatted yesterday a little bit, Dave. The referee wandered over, sort of looked like he hadn't decided what he was going to do, and then eventually showed Coloxy the second yellow. By watching back on the highlights again today, one of the Concord players reacting to the decision puts his head on his hands as if the referee is going to send off Alex Wall for his second yellow. So, I mean, that said it all really to me. So, but it's no surprise. Wall's been doing this for so long, and Ian Allenson was absolutely fuming with the referee's decisions after the game.
Well, there was a tweet which you sent me, which Michael Johnson put out yesterday. You might want to comment on that.
Yeah, Michael Johnson pretty much said that the referee spoke to him about a player diving pretty early in the game. I think it was actually Wall within the first 10 minutes. And the referee told him it was too early to book him. So what does that mean? That is just unbelievable, isn't it?
I'll tell you what I do like about the... Sorry, mate.
Yeah, do carry on.
I'll tell you what I do like about the 2 games as well is that last season we probably lose both of those games. Our record against Concord and Hampton weren't exactly the best. But the one thing I do like as well, only from what I sort of saw on the highlights, was that we were eager to get forward with pace. I know it seemed a little bit fraught at times, and I think we did miss David Noble, especially at Hampton. There was that just calmness in the middle of the park. But again, as you guys alluded to there, real sort of pressure in attack, real sort of purpose with it. And again, how many sort of times have we fallen shy of results against Hampton and Concord? So I think 4 points from the first 2 games is a good return.
Yeah, you talk about David Noble there. Ian brought him on pretty much immediately after the sending off yesterday, and the Saints pretty much controlled the final 20 minutes, even with 10 men. And I think part of that was having Noble on the pitch. Concord were a big physical side, but he just found space. He didn't struggle at all, and he just sprayed the ball about. And I think, again, you can see that influence of having just a player that is so gifted like Nobby.
There's another reason to chuck into it as well, I think, why Concord blew it yesterday. Their time wasting and spoiling tactics from early on were quite shocking. Anybody can watch it on TV and see it. And they falls to himself then, because they then lost the momentum. And once we got back into the game, they found it difficult to pick it up again. And in the second half, we did pick it up, and they brought it on themselves.
Yeah, I mean, second half, it was pretty much just the Saints pushing, really. I know Concord had one chance towards the end, but otherwise it was much improved. And Concord, I mean, when you go up against 10 men, you think you can kill that. And it reminds me of sort of Dulwich away last season when they had a man sent off after about 20 minutes. Saints didn't really push, didn't really do anything. And we lost the game fairly comfortably in the end, 1-0. Or was it 2? It was 2-1, actually. And it was sort of similar yesterday for Concord. So, and to be honest, the Saints could have even snatched it in the end. Joseph Chichiziku had a chance on the turn that was straight at the keeper. So, but I think Ian will be very happy with the resilience that his side has shown in both games, actually. And like Lee said, both of those games we were lost last season. And the standout thing for me is just how much more physical and strong we look this season.
Maybe too physical in referee Philip Staining's eyes. But that penalty, Alex Wall started going down. You can see James's hands are up. Every player does it on the pitch, and they shouldn't. The referee should clamp down it. It wasn't enough to make him go down. He was already going down. He bought it. The referee, I don't think he bought the sending off. He misread it, I think. And we were the victims, but in the end, it all came good.
Yeah.
There you go. Steadily, he said 4 points from 3 games. It's not a bad start, and the only goal conceded is from penalty, and of course a clean sheet in the FA Cup as well.
Yeah.
Yes, David. Right. Okay. I've got a note here. They're known as the Beach Boys, aren't they? But anyone who's seen the video would know the goalkeeper's known as one of the Bleach Boys.
Oh my goodness me! You've been spending too much time with Nokia, I think.
That's got something to do with it, hasn't it? Yeah. But come on to the streaming. It's not the same as being there, but at least it is a service which most clubs are now offering. A good thing?
In the circumstances, I think yes, but I think what's become very apparent in the last 2 match days for all clubs is every club has had problems. Every club has been struggling. I think the only one that I haven't heard has had issues is Dorking. And obviously part of that is probably their chairman / owner / manager / whatever else he does there has, I think, splashed out on a rather fancy system. But every other club has struggled. Most clubs I've seen, some fans have been able to see whole games. Some fans have only seen half a game. It's a real mixed picture. And it's no real surprise to me that non-league clubs are suddenly asked to do what Football League clubs and Premier League clubs have been doing for, quite a while now. And of course they're going to struggle. So I think it is something, and it is allowing fans to watch. And I saw a tweet from a Concord, someone to do with their filming yesterday, and they had over 300 people viewing at one point, which is more than they probably would have got for the game anyway. So it is good, but it's like you said, without fans, it's just nothing at all. I mean, I don't know if you noticed watching this stream that there seemed to be a congregation of Concord fans behind a goal. Well, not fans, I believe committee members, which was an interesting viewing to me.
Match day critical people, Jake. It's the only reason they can be there. They're match day critical.
Yes, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's part. Sorry, Lee, you go ahead.
I was just going to sort of say that I know in the Hitchin programme in particular, Snowburn City got an absolute caning in quite a lot of the articles there in relation to the streaming for the cup game. And as you say, mate, you know, it's a pretty sort of thankless task when you have to sort of put up this sort of new media stream. But that said, I think given the problems that we did have for the first game, and again, the club came out and put a statement out saying that, you know, that we're going to rectify it, and all of the streaming is going to be great in time for the next sort of game, and it wasn't. The club are advertising a process which they ultimately cannot provide. So I think the frustration there from the fans, and there has been quite a few, I think it needs to be addressed. I know that we've got a new media partner on board now, and there are bound to be sort of teething problems with this sort of level of exposure. But again, you know, it's not just down to the club; it is on the platforms as well. I know, for instance, Dagenham have spent thousands of pounds on a ball tracking camera which doesn't track the ball. So they had exact same sort of teething problems. But I think that needs to be sorted out in-house first before you keep offering that service, because all you're going to do is just get more and more disgruntled fans and more negative comments for a club that's had plenty over the course of the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say from sort of my perspective, involved with it internally, just in terms of doing the commentating and being up on the gantry. Tuesday night against Hampton did seem to go a lot better than Hinchin, which was an improvement. Seems first half might have been a little sketchy for some fans, but most fans sort of much improved after second half. So I think it's just learning about the technology involved and the internet service that is required. And like you said as well, the provider, get the impression that the provider has sort of been caught out by how much demand there has been for these games actually, and how many people want to see it. And I think Concord had that problem on Saturday. So it is a learning, you know, term for everyone, and we're all slowly getting there. And it's worth remembering as well, this was very much hoisted upon all the clubs with pretty much 1-2 weeks before the season. So yeah, we're getting there, but you know, without fans, the football is just it really is struggling to be anything like it was before.
Well, Lee's point is right about the PR. We know it's something City have struggled from for a year or more. First of all, with the price increase, not listening to concerns there, not listening to the outrage, if you like, about the crest. Taking 5 months to confront, to say anything to supporters about their unused games on season tickets last season. And then with this streaming, we know there's going to be problems, or we guess there's going to be problems, and we understand. But talk to supporters. A letter went out Tuesday saying there's another one coming within 24 hours with more details. We're now on Sunday night. Where's that letter? Be honest with supporters. Offer them a refund. Don't wait for them to contact you. Offer them refunds. Say, look, we know it's gone wrong. We'll give you a refund, but if you want to make it to a donation to the club in these difficult times, we'd be really grateful. But we haven't even done that, and we should do. Slough have done it. Actually, looking at prices, you've got Dartford charging a tenner, Chelmsford a tenner, all but a penny. So our price at £7 is coming in with most clubs. You've got Slough doing it for just a £5, and Eastbourne for a £5, Dorking for a £5. A couple of them doing it live on YouTube for free, Hampton and Tunbridge Angels. I think Wedding's going to be a £5. They haven't confirmed it yet. So it's a mixed bag on prices, and probably a mixed bag on quality as well. But it looks like we're going to have it for a while to come.
Yeah, I think it is. Like you said, there is that mixed bag. I think the price, I would say the one positive the club has done, I think the price is pretty much, like you say, in line with most, and I think fairly acceptable for most supporters, happy to pay it, as long as it is working as a service. Yeah, it seems to be, it's slowly coming together for most clubs. Those ones that have streamed it on YouTube, I think very much did that because they didn't have their sort of platform in place to have a payment in. So I suspect they will reveal it eventually. I noticed that Chelmsford are using the same ball tracking technology that Dagenham did and Aldershot did, and apparently Chelmsford a couple of times the ball sort of lost a bit of focus, etc. So there's, I mean, every club seems to be having those technical issues. I mean, I know Aldershot managed to somehow miss a goal because the ball focused on a ball boy with a ball. So even clubs. even clubs higher up.
That is so non-league, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's just so non-league. Unbelievable.
That's
You
the
can't
thing.
make that sort of stuff
You
up.
introduce technology and still non-league manages to be incredibly non-league, and it's never going to change, is it?
Yeah, but you know what though, mate? Knowing our luck, it will have this sort of ball tracking camera, and it will zoom in on Noki or something, and it will be just.
That'd be a beach ball, not a football. Now, actually, on that thing about crowds and whatnot, we might as well move on to this stuff about elite football, because the National League got granted elite status in the summer. Ludicrously, when you look at some of the grounds at non-league south level, it's not much better than Parks football, really. But where we are, we're elite football, so we can't have fans in the ground. Why not beg to get taken out of this elite thing? Let fans come back into the grounds. You might still have problems with the bar, but clubs then would be self-financing instead of us going hand in glove, begging the public purse. So the taxpayers paying for non-league football at the moment at this level, which is ludicrous.
But all this pans out from, though, Tavs, is the fact that you've got, it's not even the Conference South, mate. It's the chairman of like Notts County and Stockport and Chesterfield with Football League budgets. They still want to sort of hang on to those sort of last threads of professionalism. And you want to sort of call us elite because we still want to be in there. We still strive to be in the Football League, but they don't want to be associated with the likes of Snowden City and Braintree and all of that lot. But ultimately, we are now cast under the same umbrella as they are. But unfortunately, we don't have the resources. We haven't got £1 million playing budget every sort of season. So we are now falling foul from the people who are running the club at the top level.
Well, most of the North and South, of course, are not full-time, whereas practically every club in the National League is full-time. So there's maybe a case for aligning them to the Football League and making them elite, but at our level, no, change it.
Yeah, agreed. It is absolute madness. And of course, we really have to thank for this the likes of Havant, Dorking, those clubs in the playoffs that wanted the playoffs, and the only way they were going to get it was the elite status. And it happened, and it's come back and bitten all the clubs on the backside so far. I mean, from what I've seen, I know that the money amount has been confirmed and the government has said they're getting it. But as far as I've seen, it hasn't actually been confirmed how much each club is getting, and the clubs haven't been informed how it's going to work. So at the moment, clubs are sort of running on the hope that they get it. So it is absolute madness that the National League Board haven't sort of even confirmed that yet. And of course, it is only 3 months. 3 months down the line, we don't know where we're going to be in terms of COVID. Don't know where we're going to be in terms of football. How can we carry on like this?
When that money is dished out, there will be arguments. There will be people screaming, we need more of this, that and the other. You can see it coming already.
Yeah, absolutely. And, clubs like York City, etc. in the north, Stockport County, they're losing out on so much fan sort of money. And yet you'll have Hungerford Town, who get 150, 200 people, getting the same amount as big clubs like that.
No, they won't. But the theory is they're going to do it on crowds, aren't they?
Yeah, they will do. So
but nothing's written down yet, Jake. So you might be right.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It is all unknown, and it's all so confusing for everyone. Just before they sort of agreed it, the sort of majority of the National League North clubs came out with a written statement, didn't they? And sort of said, we don't want to play without fans, and we need that money. And I did wonder if there was possibly the chance of the North looking to split away from the National League Board. And I know that North and South clubs seem to be very annoyed that it is National League clubs that have the predominant vote on the board. I know, Lee, that you have a bit of interaction with a few National League clubs, and that's the impression I get from the smaller ones anyway.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, mate, is that, it's there's a large amount of chairmen of the National League clubs which form up the National League Board because they are the driving force. Those are the ones who are going to be negotiating the higher amount, the higher slice of that pie. But it doesn't mean because you're York City, which is a team that you refer to there, is any less deserving or any more deserving than Hungerford Town. You think about in our division, Bath City, they have a very large attendance and they're going to need that income as well. It's just because you are an elite or classed as elite, or even if you're at the bottom, you're still going to need a little piece of that pie. And as Tav said, there's going to be some very harsh discussions being made to decide who gets what and when they get it, because just because you're allocated X amount. When are you actually going to get that amount? You know, because it ain't going to be instantaneous, is it?
No, it's not at all. You do. I mean, in my mind, I do wonder if this is eventually going to lead to the sort of split of the National League down the line. Like you said, possibly seeing the National League Premier, whatever you want to call it, moving in line with the Football League. And of course, today there's been those sort of talks about that the Premier League clubs have put a grand plan together to sort of change the pyramid, and it's a sort of way of getting the Football League a £250 million bailout. I'm sure the National League would love to be involved with that. So we'll have to see. But it's very confusing and concerning times for all clubs at this level, no matter their size. And again, you just don't know where we're going to be in 3 months, do you?
I do think, though, that because the National League have been desperate to be on side with the Football League, because they've been desperate for that second promotion place for quite a number of years now.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to be rocking the boat sort of too much just yet. But they've been seriously after that second promotion place. And I don't think it's going to be, I think it makes sense to sort of be more aligned with the Football League simply because of the amount of ex-professional clubs that are actually in the Conference Premier.
Yeah.
But, there needs to be a bit of common sense. And, it's not for everyone, but, it needs to be a little bit of common sense in terms of how these things are thought through and who gets what and when.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking of money, of course, the FA Cup takes on greater significance for clubs like us now, because you're losing so many other revenue streams, not just people coming through the gates. For winning our second round qualifying tie against Hitchin Town, we picked up 3,375. Hitchin got 1,125. Next round, this coming Tuesday, we've got Mickleover down the park. The winners of that get 5,625, which takes you up to winning 9,000 from the first 2 rounds. That would be rather useful.
I think especially at the moment, there's a huge incentives to get through. And of course, in the fourth qualifying round, there's a potential bye as well with the disappearance of Macclesfield. So one lucky club could be through to the first round if they play it right. So yeah, the FA Cup is very important, as is the FA Trophy. Still a little bit of winning money. I'm sure clubs will appreciate it, although we have not that we've even played the FA Trophy final yet. Concord are waiting on that, of course. So yeah, but it's very important for, I think, the Saints to get back to winning ways on Tuesday night against a very unknown opponent.
Yeah, you're involved in the media side and commercial side to a degree, Lee, with all your design stuff down the years. The FA Cup, the spin-offs and that brought in money in other ways as well, didn't it? Which we're not going to get.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's sort of positive enough, the fact we've got a very favourable tie. And as sort of Jake said, if we get past that, then who knows? A very good cup run, as we all know, can do wonders for this club. The whole city does get involved, and as you say, Tabs, the spin-offs, mate, can be very lucrative indeed. You look at Carlisle games and the Mansfield games, and even to a certain degree the Bourne Wood game when it was on the red button on BBC. It does put us in the shop window. But this season, who knows? I mean, all of the prize money's been cut anyway, and it's just. But let's focus on the positives in the fact that we get past Tuesday, and who knows?
Yeah,
I think you look at Mickleover, a team we got Tuesday, Northern Premier League, Northern equivalent of Hitchin Town in the previous round. I don't think you're going to compare the two at all like that. In the old days, this would have been a great tie you'd have wanted away from home, a new ground up in the Midlands, somewhere new to go and visit. Instead, it's Clarence Park, ground's deserted, atmosphere zero. Boom, it's flat to start with, but the players can't take that attitude.
No, not at all. I think it's going to be a very tough game from what I've said.
All right, Jay, talk about the team, man. Because Ian surprised us last Tuesday against Hampden. He made 2 changes. Saturday again, he surprised 2 changes, and he's come up right both times. But what are you getting from him?
Yeah, I think he was just aware that the sort of, I mean, sort of speaking to him, he said that he was conscious of the physicalness of both sides, especially Concord and Alex Wall, which obviously had an influence on the game. I mean, I thought Dave Deju had a really good game at right back against Concord, actually. But I get the impression that he wants to get some pace back in the side for Mickleover, so I wouldn't be surprised if Luke Warner-Ely and Devontae Stanley start again. But it's good. I think it's good to see Ian rotating positions. I mean, he's not always been the most willing to change sides or use substitutions. So I think I think it's working well. And of course, we've got quite a reasonably big squad at the moment for us anyway, up to 20 players. So he's going to need it over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, Mikolova is going to be tough. And I think we'll see a few changes. Wouldn't be surprised to see David Noble possibly come in after only playing 20 minutes on Saturday. So hopefully they can sort of get going. But Mikolova, I mean, they're gonna be dangerous. They got a good win against Warrington Town on Saturday, who are top of their league. And of course, I want to touch upon as well that it appears that we are it seems that we're in either the Midlands or the northern half of the draw, which is
Yes,
a bit unusual.
Localised, does it?
No, and I suspect for the fourth qualifying round, if it stays the same, then there's a chance of us picking up some interesting clubs if we get through.
Well, if we were in the Southern draw, we'd be the first Southern team pulled out of it. But I think we're in the Midlands, as you said there. Sorry, Lee.
I was just going to sort of say, Tuesday's game is made for Nobby, isn't it? It's just made for him now. Just that little bit of composure on the ball. They're going to come out all guns blazing, aren't they? And it's just going to need that little bit of time, that little bit of quality, and picking off the passes. And hopefully, I mean, I don't share sort of Jake's skepticism. I think it's going to be a relatively easy game, but but you know, it's I think it's going to be a positive one for us, and just another sort of tick box exercise. And hopefully we can, because I think Ian, we went out of the cup relatively early last season, and all of last season we were forever chasing the season, forever chasing the entire campaign. I think Ian's now made us a little bit harder to beat with the strength and that pace early. And I think that it's really good that he's using the whole depth of the squad, because as you say, Jake, it wasn't always sort of forthcoming, was it, in previous seasons? So it is important that he uses the men at his disposal. And I think as a Tuesday comes, Noble is going to play an absolute key part, and I think we're going to progress easily.
Yeah,
I think it's so sad now. There's no replays in the FA Cup, and the way that's been edging for a couple of years, which is so wrong. But in a way, it could make for a more exciting game on Tuesday, because there's no point playing for a draw because you don't even get extra time.
No, both sides have got to go for it unless you want the sort of the chance of penalty. So I think it could be a very entertaining game. Of course, we have to give out our obligatory mention to Ian Hall. He's from around that sort of way, Derbyshire, and he told me he was quite impressed with how I pronounced Mikolova. Ian Allenson was very impressed with how I pronounced it. Didn't seem, the most difficult word, but there we go. So hello, Ian. I know he's watching.
Why is it not even a surprise me that he gets a name check, mate, from being up there? It's absolute bandit country up there, mate.
Yeah. like you said,
actually, he was at his parents' house, which is about 5 miles from the ground, when the draw was made.
Like you said, it is a real shame that this isn't in a season where we can have fans and we could have all gone on a jolly up to Derbyshire. I mean, it would have been an absolute brilliantly away day, wouldn't it?
Well, it'd be a waste of time seeing as it's down the park, Jake. You can go. Have a good time.
If it had been reversed, at least.
Sorry.
I mean, it could be worse. I mean, Hemel got Boston away, so there we go.
Hemel, is that a good time to start talking about yesterday's results in National League South?
Yeah, we may as well. I mean, we may as well get them out.
What on earth has happened to Hemel, losing 4-1 at home to Eastbourne?
Well, what can you say? I mean, you point and...
Let's face it, who cares?
3-0 down in 17 seconds, 17 minutes, 17
seconds.
But a score inside 45 seconds was dear old Charlie Walker.
Oh, Charlie Walker, he's captain now, isn't he, at Eastbourne? What a man. He didn't really set Clarence Park alight, did he, during his spell with us?
He got 5 in 17 or whatever it was. No, there couldn't have been that many. Chris Whelpdale got a couple more for Eastbourne. He got a hat trick in the cup last week, despite me saying he got 3 for Dorking. One of the D's anyway. What about the surprise side so far? Hungerford Town, 2 played, 2 wins, no goals conceded.
Well, I think they've already secured promotion, haven't they? They look absolutely on fire. Although I did notice one of their goals they scored yesterday was a bit controversial.
A little bit controversial.
Yeah, their forward seemed to slightly catch the goalkeeper, didn't he? And there appeared to be a whistle blown. The goalkeeper thought it was the referees, put the ball out for a free kick. Striker comes back, nicks it off him and just pokes it into the empty net.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Hungerford clearly have got their sort of that mentality now that they've never had before. So fair play to them. I thought they'd really struggle this season, but they've started brilliantly so far.
Well, as I say, the old adage, Hungerford played to 1 of 6 whistles or whatever. Cambridge had a goal disallowed in the first half. It's a bloke who scored their first goal of the season, Kyle Da Costa.
Oh, I love Kale. He scored an absolute brilliant chip against Billericay. And I just love to have him back. Come back, Kale. Come back.
What about Joey Schifano? Do you want him back? He got 2 goals for Havant yesterday. Put them 2 up at half time, but they could only draw 2-2 with Maidstone, who scored twice in added time.
Yes, and also notable that Joe's goals were about a combined yardage of 18 yards. So that's the Joe we know and love, just there to poke it home.
Of course, plastic pitch at Havant now, plastic pitch at Hemel. Neither of them won.
I was going to make a comment about plastic fans, but I won't.
Oh,
That, ladies and gentlemen, that is fighting talk. That's what that is.
Put his name out there, Lee, so we don't get blamed.
I can assure you, mate, we're going to get blamed regardless. So I really wouldn't worry about it.
All right, okay. Big game, top of the table. Dorking 3, Slough 1. Dorking 2 wins out of 2. They're going to be up there again, despite Jake's. Well, you were right last season. You said they finished between 20th and 3rd, and they did that. You're going to go for something similar this year?
No, I'm not. But I think Lee has a comment about Dorking.
No, not at all. I mean, I just think that you look at Pryor is still doing the business this season. He sort of carried on from his goal scoring feats of last year. I quite like them. You know, they've got some good players still, and I think they sort of self-destructed towards the end a little bit last season. But no, they've still got some good players, and they've got some players that can really hurt teams, like the top teams as well. And if they can keep all of their initial squad fit, I reckon they're going to be in for a fighting chance.
Absolutely.
Right, well, we're 6th in the table after our 2 games, jumped up from 9th with that draw yesterday. We shan't go in depth on all the games, but bottom of the table of Braintree with no points from 2 games for George Ball's side. And a few others struggling down there as well, but not us, we're up there somewhere. One other player sent off yesterday was Jake Goodman of Ebbsfleet, and they were fortunate to get a 1-1 draw at home to Dulwich, apparently. Quickly run around some ex-Saints who got some goals yesterday. So many of these you remember. Jamie Lee O'Donoghue scored for Haringey. Reece Beckles-Richards, I think he was one of ours, scored a winner for Cheshunt against Bognor. Lane Eady got a penalty for Hitchin. Harry Crawford for Kings Langley. Sean Lucian for Hendon, a 4-0 win against Hartley Whitney. I thought he was a Shakespearean. Lewis Toomey got a penalty in that one. But how about this one? Bedford Town 4, Northley 1. One of Bedford's scorers, Craig McHale-Smith.
Yes, I saw he'd gone there, and fair play to him. I think he's going to find it very easy at that level, isn't he? You'd have thought.
Yeah, he's not a spring chicken anymore. But funny enough, at this do I was at today, we were talking about Craig, because people always say, why did St Albans let him go? And his career flourished after he left us. And I always have sympathy for the managers, Gary Roberts and Steve Cook at the time. They had a couple of forwards they wanted as a forward line. And up till that point, I think Craig had played something like 45 games. All right, most of them are sub. And he's only got 2 goals. And it looked to be slow to be developing. And so you can understand why they couldn't guarantee him a first team place. And because of that, he left. But it backfired for us. But that's the way it goes. Sometimes you make these decisions as a manager.
But Taz, if you think, though, he was told that he was going to be too small to be a professional footballer. And if you look at the players who were in his position under Cook and Roberts, you could probably see why he didn't get a longer run in the side. But as you sort of say, how many players have now left us and gone on to bigger and better things? You know, it always happens, mate, because non-league football is just that melting pot. Huh? Well, you know, Bat's gone on and sort of done good things. But in relation to Craig McHale-Smith, I think he was just unfortunate, and he probably was a little bit young, considering the type of football and the formation that we were playing at that time.
Yeah.
Of course, when he went to Dagenham, we saw him when we were in the 1 year in the Conference National. And my goodness, John Still, it really built him up, wasn't he? He was a big lad and he was still incredibly quick. Yeah, and he had other bloke up front with him as well, blonde-haired lad who I can't remember, but they were a deadly partnership.
You mentioned Jake Goodman a couple of minutes ago. Of course, he'll be missing Saturday's game as a result of that sending off for Ebbsfleet. The suspension kicks in, and so will James Coloxy. So both sides will be missing a centre half. That means goals are guaranteed.
Yeah.
So that's got a 0-0 written all over it then, boys. Yeah.
But you two want to predict, you were both way out last week. One went 3-1, one went 2-1, and it was 1-0, of course, because we never let goals in apart from set pieces.
Right. So, okay. So Mickle I'll go 3-1 Saints. And
You did last week.
Yeah. And Ebbsfleet, I'll go 1-1.
All right. Lee?
Tuesday night, I'm going to go for a cheeky little 4-0. And Ebbsfleet, I like us. I'm going to go 2-0.
Whoa.
That'd be good, wouldn't it? That puts us well up there if that's the case.
That's brilliant. Lee,
Well,
I love your optimism.
Well, I've been drinking, mate, so it always helps.
Well, it is a Sunday. That's your normal day.
Right, this thing here says we've been zooming for 38 and a bit minutes, Jake. We're only allowed 40. So I suppose it's time we say goodbye. But I'll give you one before we go. Oxford City last week beat Royal Wootton Bassett Town in the FA Cup. Can you think of any other football clubs with 4 names? And I don't mean Hampton and Richmond Borough or Queen of the South. Don't have to do it tonight. Come up with next week if you want to.
Are we going to tease the fan? We'll tease.
I think we have to. I know. Crikey.
The viewers with that. We want to say thank you to everyone that did watch last week's first episode of the season 2. And I know, yeah, and there's a few comments as well, so it's good to have everyone back. Obviously, it's been a little while away, so I don't know if our last season podcast is still available to listen to, but we're on YouTube for now, so I hope everyone's been enjoying seeing us speak. I know it's a bit scary.
My brother saw the first 10 minutes last week, Jake, and he felt Lee and I were too harsh on you, so we're going to give you the utmost respect in future. So actually, yeah, you can take that mask off. All of that stuff's attached to your face, isn't it?
Well, what a way to finish it.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Brilliant. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone.